Hi everyone, Gina Husser here. Welcome to your second video in your training series, The Peaceful Path to Your Life's Purpose. Now, hopefully by now you've spent some time in your most delicious daydreams and your happiest memories, and hopefully you've begun to extract those non-negotiable feelings and have written them down and know exactly what you want to bring into your current reality. And now we're going to just put those aside. If you have questions about that still, that's fine. You're going to have an opportunity to get those answered. But let's move on to the next step. The next step is the gold standard. Now, the gold standard is a great litmus test for your life to use in any area, really, to make sure you're on a noble and productive path. So, what does it mean? It's letter by letter. We're going to take it here, okay? So, the G is for your gifts. Your divinely appointed gifts, and we all have them. Now, often when we think of gifts, we think of talents. Things come to mind like writers and painters and musicians, but those are all great too, but there are also beautiful gifts that are not quite as tangible. For instance, you may have a gift for staying very organized. My mother has that gift, I don't. You may have a gift for giving great advice or fixing things or comforting people during times of tragedy. Those are all beautiful gifts that you really need to think about. So, how do we get to the core of our divinely appointed gifts? Well, a couple questions you can ask yourself. The first question you can ask yourself is, what am I naturally good at? We are all good at something, and we don't even have to think about it. It just comes naturally to us, and maybe people have said to you, wow, I don't know how you do that. You're so good at it, and it doesn't even occur to you. It just flows from you naturally. The next question you can ask yourself is, what do people come to me for? Think about it. When you're good at something, be it fixing a computer or babysitting, your friends and family always come to you for it, right? So think back to what people need from you. What do people come to you and ask you for? And the third question you can ask yourself is, what do I do that when I'm doing it, I'm completely in my flow? I'm losing track of time and just going with the flow because I'm content and happy. So those are three great questions to get to your core divine appointed gifts, right? So the O is for offering. Now, your soul's purpose is never going to be self-centered. It's always going to offer something to others, okay? So as you give, your cup only fills up more. So whatever offering you're giving, you never feel a sense of loss. You only feel a sense of fulfillment and gratitude, okay? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing nonprofit work or building homes in a third world country, although those are great things, but it can be a little bit less tangible than that, right? And this is where some of the other personality tests fail. They ask you what you like to do, they ask you what you're naturally good at, but they miss on the offering. This is where you have to distinguish between a hobby and a purpose, right? I love to shop and I love to eat Italian food, and I'm quite good at both, but I'm not offering a service when I do either of those things, right? Remember my friend, the corporate controller, he was offering a service by being present every day at that work site and making sure those people's work environment was safe and efficient and happy. And that's a beautiful thing. So you need to think about what you want to give. What do you want to offer? How do you want to serve others? And when those things start coming into your mind, you should feel peace and gratitude. Now, the L in the gold standard is for love. Do you love it enough? And this is a very vital question. This is where something comes in called your most compelling why. We all have a most compelling why, and it's the reason we do pretty much everything we do. For me, it always comes down to my children. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about how I got to the core of my most compelling why in this very business, okay? So I had had a successful business before, but it was in fashion. So when I realized I wanted to turn this into a business, I was stuck in fear because that was quite a leap. Now, I have an awesome business mentor who said to me, well, you love to coach people and you're doing fine. Why not just keep doing it small? Why do you want to turn it into a business? And I said to her, well, because I love to do it and I want to do it full time. And if I'm doing this full time, I can't have another job full time, so I need to make sure that this becomes profitable. And she said, because why? And I said, well, because I have to make sure I can pay my bills. And she said, because why? And I said, because I have 3 kids and I need to make sure that they're taken care of. And she said, because why? Now by now I'm getting annoyed and I almost yelled back at her, because they're the most important things in my life and I want to know that they are always taken care of. And she said, bingo, there's your most compelling why. Now, you need your most compelling why because it sustains you through the challenging days. Even when you are working in line with your soul's purpose, your life's purpose, you're going to have challenging days. When I was putting together a telesummit, it took me hours upon hours of work. I was interviewing 27 experts in this field, and I was in the middle of raging thunderstorms. I had power outages in the middle of my live interviews. I had a computer crash. I had a child come home with the flu, and I had that moment where I thought, oh, this is just too hard. It's just too hard. And then I thought, wait a minute. I love what I do. I'm serving people, and it's providing for my kids. So this is where that question always comes up for people. Do I love it enough? Is it worth it? And if it's in line with your soul's purpose, even on the challenging days, the answer is going to be a resounding yes. So moving on. The D is for doable. Is it doable? And it is. The higher power, whatever you perceive that to be, is never going to put an idea in your heart and your soul without giving you the means to attain it. Now, my colleague Nana Kasha likes to say that we should think about our life as a fully funded mission, and I love that. So whatever you're called to do, think about it as a fully funded project. Believe that what you need, the next steps, the budget, the logistical things that you need are already laid out way ahead of you, and all you need to do is stay the course, stay on the right path, right? So hopefully you've begun to think of ways to do this on a daily basis, but some of us are like kids, and I was guilty of that for a long time. You know, if you ask my daughter what she wants to do, she says, I want to be a ballet dancer, a teacher, and a doctor, right? And I remember back in college saying, well, I love fashion, and I love to write, and I love kids. And my dad said, well, maybe you'll find somebody to pay you to shop with kids and then write about it. Now, he was being a smartass, but he wasn't that far off track. If I wanted to, I could have started a blog about shopping with kids, right? And I could have offered information about which malls had the most kid-friendly stores, which ones had the play areas, which ones had the cleanest bathrooms, which shopping centers had the best areas for moms that were designated for breastfeeding. I'm telling you, that's information that millions of moms would want to have. And then I could have made it profitable by selling ad space to the malls that I positively mentioned in my blog. So you see, when you're in your flow and you're doing what you love and you're offering a service, the ways for abundance just flow naturally to you. That abundance may come in the form of profit, or it may come in the form of beautiful relationships that you form with the people you serve, but it does come, okay? So I want to share a story about a friend of mine who found out just how important it was to make sure that your non-negotiables and the gold standard and all the pieces of the puzzle were in line. Now, she thought she had found her soul's purpose in the form of a new career. She had had skincare issues as a teenager and had been made fun of and had had a really tough time. So when she found this product that was supposedly revolutionary, she got really excited. It met her non-negotiables. She could be financially secure, she could have the freedom of owning her own business, and she could positively impact lives by selling this product and saving other kids from the same humiliation that she had suffered. Now, at first things seemed to be going great, but then what happened was she began to get complaints. People were calling her and emailing her and saying not only was it not helping their skincare issues, it was actually giving them worse issues. They were breaking out more. Now, she swept it under the rug for a little bit because she was making really good money and she thought perhaps these were isolated incidents, but unfortunately the complaints kept coming. And she described it as having a really heavy feeling. She felt sad. Excuse me. She didn't feel any drive to get up and start her day. So she quit. She realized that it wasn't speaking to all of her non-negotiables anymore, and it wasn't measuring up against the gold standard. Her most compelling why was to enhance people's lives, not make it worse, right? So she quit. She went back to school and she learned to be an esthetician, and she now has a thriving business and offers beautiful workshops on skincare for teenage girls that are doing very, very well. She was smart enough to get that she was off track and take time to recalibrate. Now, she knew she loved that line of work. She didn't want to get out of that entirely, but she figured out a way to do her soul's work in a way that met all of the criteria. So, to recap, your life's purpose is always going to serve others, okay? It's going to speak to your divinely pointed gifts, the G. It's going to make an offering, the O. You're going to love it enough, your most compelling why, and you're going to find a way to do it. So join me in the next video because we're going to talk about the two most common traps that people fall into that keep them stuck, and I'm going to tell you how you can get your questions answered by me. I'll see you then.